everyone. Today I've got another journal flip for you, and this is my Small Dilutions journal. This is actually the first journal I got for the purposes of art journaling. So what you're going to see inside here is kind of like where I started and then towards the end, I guess, where I ended up. I don't know, I didn't work chronologically in this book, so who knows what order it's in. And I think when I started making the video, I said I'd show you like 10 pages. I end up flipping through the whole thing. So if that's something you're interested in, to see this whole book flipped through with my dumb commentary, stick around and watch the rest of the video. Side note, this is not going to be a regular thing, this backdrop. It's just set up in the house for something different, but I thought I'd use it because it's up and it looks great. So here's my journal flip, my Small Dilutions journal. It's the whole thing. There are a few things I miss, and I tell you at the end why I miss them. I can tell you again right now, it's because they reveal some parts of my personality that I'm not ready to reveal yet. Maybe ever. No, they're way too hard to explain. I mean, some of them, like one of them has this dumb political message, and I don't even know why I did it. I must have just been feeling really on something that day. So the rest of it is just art. It's, you know, it goes through my collage and quote phase, and more just, you know, stuff of me practicing and how I used to be so planned out and so careful and everything had to match and I had to start and finish all in one day. You'll find all of that in here. So if you want to see kind of where I started out with art journaling, keep watching the video and watch me flip through this baby. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, bye. Okay, so here we have my journal. This is the Small Dilutions journal, and this is the first art journal I got specifically for art journaling. So this one I actually purchased because I was on YouTube and stumbled across a whole bunch of art journaling videos, then got lost in a vortex, and this was a journal that looked like it would suit my needs and looked like it was great for practice and also was small enough to not be intimidating. So we're going to flip through the first 10 pages. I won't count this because this is the inside cover, but this was an old sketch I did. This is an old self-portrait I did. I mean, not old, it's relatively new, but this was an ink-soluble pen and just some watercolor, and then just playing around with different techniques. And this doesn't accurately represent what I look like now, nor what I looked like when I drew it, but I guess that's the thing about a self-portrait, is it's kind of just how you see yourself. So let's start here. This will be page number 1. Alright, this is a double spread. So this was a Digistamp I created for Halloween last year. I did a set of 4, I think. This was the original sketch that once I, scanned it and made it into Digistamps, this is what I colored in and made it into this spread. I was practicing a background technique that I learned from one of Diane Reevely's videos. It's like I forget what she calls it, block technique. It's basically like a patchwork kind of looking thing, and then you fill it with stenciling and doodles. So this is Tina the Tequila Tiki Teeny. I love alliteration. So that's how that became what it became. And this is actually just a photocopy of that blown up. And then while you're creating the background, if you want to ghost it into, like, see, this kind of looks like it's blended into the background, just stick it on and paint over it with some kind of transparent paints. These are Dilutions paints, and they're buildable, so they've got a nice transparency to them, so they work really well for trying to blend stuff into the background. So this is just, this part here, I blew it up and photocopied it, and then just stuck the photocopy on, and then once I'd painted over it, you kind of pull the lines back out with some pen and some paint pen. I just think it's a really cool technique to add interest, I guess. This was one of the first journal pages I did. I'm not going to be able to fit it all when I flip it, but yeah, I was really into collage and quotes at that point. That's how I kind of started. So the backgrounds are relatively simple, and you can see they're kind of all planned out and put together because I was trying my best to plan it all out, and I wasn't working instinctively, which it kind of works against you, I feel like, in the end. That's what I learned. But this was from an old fashion magazine and a Disney coloring in book. So yeah, this was kind of the start of me learning how to journal. I feel like all these starting pages are collage and quotes. So this is number 3. Another Disney quote, lips red as the rose, fashion collages from old fashion magazines, and then I had a scrapbooking book that came with all these cutouts. There was really bizarre cutouts in there. What are they called now? Die cuts. They're called die cuts now. I guess they've always been called die cuts, but they came with that. And so this was, I'm still learning at this point. I still don't know how to do all these interesting backgrounds and you know, I'm more playing with collage than I am with anything else. Here's some more collage and quotes. On Wednesdays we wear pink. It's from Mean Girls, an amazing movie. So this is just all the pink stuff that I could find. I used to have a mad Hello Kitty obsession. Picture is worth 1,000 words, but the memories are priceless. So I don't know if you've watched any of my other journal flips. I do mention that my gran and I used to color in all the time. It would be something that we'd always do together. And when she passed away, I had all of her coloring stuff in a big bag, and she would ask me to draw her things for her to color in because we'd colored in every coloring book we could find. This was before all that coloring therapy craze that's happened now. So this was one of the drawings that I drew for her, and then she photocopied it 1,000 times, and you know, she'd colored this in. So I cut this out and I glued it in and just made this page about Gran, and then went over the top with the colors she used and just made things a bit more bold. I added in the skin tone because she hated to add skin tones. And then put some glitter over the top because I love a bit of sparkle. So this one's really special to me because this is Gran's. I don't know if it'll be 10, might be more. So this is another collage and quotes. This is from an old coloring book, and I used to love to change their outfits. So I would take them as they were, draw over in pencil the new outfit I wanted to put on them, and usually it was some kind of something from a fashion magazine. So this is actually Miu Miu. And then I would draw it over the top and then make them these like model versions of what they were. And on the last ship that I worked on for Disney Cruise Line, I was in the show Aladdin, and this was actually a part of my script. So I had a Disney coloring book, and it had this little castle in it, the little palace, and I put the script page in the feeder of the printer, and then I photocopied this coloring book page over the top of it so I could cut it out and make it my own little die cut of the castle. But it's got my old notes in it from the song that we were learning. And yeah, that's a nice little memory for me to have. Also just going through old magazines and seeing what would fit. This is when I used to plan like crazy. When I used to go through every magazine I had, and I would find anything that looked kind of Arabian Nights-esque, and then I'd put it into this spread, and then, you know, try and tie it together with the colors and make sure that everything was laid out properly. I'd lay it all out first, and then I'd carefully take it off and then glue the parts down where I remember them being. I'd even like measure here and put a line here being like, this is where this guy goes and this is where this camel goes. But I don't work like that anymore. This was when I was on a diet. I've been on a diet since I was 12 years old. This, think healthy thoughts. So they're always thinking about cabbage or lettuce, spinach. What is this stuff? That's how healthy I am. I don't even know what these green things are. So this is my think healthy thoughts page. I should probably just photocopy that and stick it on the fridge. Here we've got another DigiStamp. Sometimes if I don't want to cut right out to the line, because I like this, you know, sketchy, kind of messy, watercolor look, I will just cut around the perimeter in some kind of shape and then figure out how to build it into the background. So just putting like this little paint pen wreath over the top, I feel like just anchors that into the page and it doesn't look like I've, you know, stuck it on top. This was a collage piece that I absolutely hate. I'll leave it. It's always good to know what you don't like. Here is a cat. A very bad cat. There's not much going on here, you can see it. It's just, he's a bad hipster cat. I feel like if Bianca was gonna date anyone, this would be her boyfriend. Here's another one of my Gran's drawing, well, her coloring ins. This is what I drew for her. This one is so old. She colored in and then I've gone over it with pencil in the same colors that she used to give it some nice shading and effect. And then just a quote from The Little Mermaid. I love all these little shells. They were from a coloring book. I didn't draw those. I just colored them in and stuck them in. Please don't give me credit for drawing these things. I mean, I added some of the detail bits, but you know, this I literally just colored in from a coloring book. But I love to add coloring book elements to this because I feel like once we're done coloring in, what do we do with the book? This, I think, was the first DigiStamp I created. Daisy. This quote, lazy, hazy Daisy thinks her sister's crazy. This is all done with pencil and Copic marker. I love adding the pencil in because I think it gives it such depth. This background and the layout is quite simple, so I feel like these are the focal points. I really enjoy making these DigiStamps. I haven't made one for a hot minute. Since Christmas, I might have to get on to making a few more. This was, I think I was just playing with colored backgrounds here. There's not much of a story going on here, it's just nice colors to look at. A nice warm page and a cool page. I was watching Frozen when I did this, so that I think Let It Go turned into Let It Grow. Whatever I'm watching in the background ends up becoming what I end up drawing. I was watching Long Island Medium last night and she ended up in my journal. This is a Tinkerbell Digistamp. So I did the set of Disney fairies as Digistamps, and they're kind of little like, oh, these are leaves, but they look like little blooming flowers, like the buds. I really like that. This is watercolor and pencil. This is another one of the Disney fairies. This is, I left a lot of the watercolor showing in this one. I only added a little bit of pencil to the cheek and some to the dress, and then a lot of paint pen. This script over here, I have a scan and cut machine, and I actually got a bit of acetate and put that through, and I had just written out the alphabet in my handwriting and then had it cut out. So I essentially made a stencil of my own handwriting. So whenever I didn't want to write, or I felt like I was gonna muck it up, I will just use my stencil. Just some paint pens and journaling. At this point, I'm still getting used to what art journaling is. I feel like I'm liking the style of it. I feel like I'm learning how to use the different mediums, but at this point, I've still got the urge to start and finish all at once and to plan stuff out. Even though this was like just over a year ago, I feel like I've changed so much since then. This is another one of the Disney fairies. This quote is actually not from the movie, it's from The Real Housewives of Melbourne. So I feel like it totally goes. I love her little garden that she's in. It's very Tim Burton. And this coloring on the face, I wish I could remember which colors I used to do this, because I'm always searching for a great way to make a glowing, kind of rich, dark skin tone. It's really difficult. I mean, I can kind of see that there's yellows and blues and purples in there, but the ones I've been doing lately, I feel like they just fall a little flat, but this one's been my favorite for a really rich skin tone, and that's just pencil and a bit of watercolor. I lay the watercolor down first and then pencil. These pages are a little unfinished, and I don't think I'll ever finish them. This was an old cleanup page with old paints that I just wanted to get off my brush. These were just old drawings and stencils with the stars. This actually started turning into more of a space layout. Well, not a space layout, but it kind of seemed a little like Up in the Stars themed, which actually freaks me out. I have a very irrational fear of space. I have such anxiety about it. I just can't wrap my head around how vast it is, or I'm not even going to talk about it because it'll freak me out. But yeah, so I was just journaling about how much I hate it. I don't care if the Queen of all the Stars herself invited me up into space, I'm not going. I hate space. This was an old fashion sketch I did that I turned into a Digistamp. I had this whole orange background and then put some masking tape over the top, painted black over the whole thing, and then ripped the masking tape off so that there were these negative spaces where I could write quotes in. And these are all quotes from The Devil Wears Prada, which is another one of my favorite movies. This is just an old cleanup page using black and white paints, and I didn't want to let them dry on the palette. Lots of paint pens. I actually think this whole page is just paint, which is a little rare for me. These were happy accidents, these little flowers with caterpillars. I like those, I should remember to do those again. I love the colors on this page. This was actually a sketch I did on the plane, and I only had my little travel watercolors and a pen and a water brush pen. And so she was sitting on the page for a long, long time. And then I come back, and then I added a background to it, and then I came back and I added this Digistamp to it. Actually, I think this was a custom Digistamp that I did for a client. So yeah, this was just my rendering of it once I'd finished drawing it. I came back and added in all these like stamping and stencil details. So what I love about art journaling, and I didn't realize before, I used to just want to sit down and do it all at once, and I'd have to plan it all out, and I'd get really frustrated if it wasn't going well, and then I'd chuck it in the bin if it didn't work, and then I'd start again. What I love about art journaling, and I never really realized before, is you can start it and then come back. I mean, it doesn't matter if you come back months later, years later, you can add to it, or you can change it. You can even paint over the whole thing. Like, you don't even have to throw it away anymore. Once my eyes were open to what art journaling could be and how it can literally just be for me, that completely changed how I got creative, and it actually made me 10 times more likely to sit down and draw and paint and sketch and doodle. I find myself doing it every day now. You know, I used to draw a lot before. Now that I've just got a place where I can start something and then I can come back and I can add more, I could just let it go and do something else. It inspires so much more creativity out of me. So that's why I love art journaling. This is another custom digi-stamp I created for a client. She wanted like a sea witch. Just because the surface is calm, don't think the sea isn't dangerous. And she's collecting souls in her shell. She's cute. Ugh, we don't need to talk about this one for too long, but this is another one of the Halloween digi-stamps. These ones just kind of creep me out. I mean, I guess I enjoyed doing them, but this is another one of the Halloween ones. It's an 8-ball, magic 8-ball. And this is the spirit of the 8-ball. So this is another one of those techniques I did with, like at the start, where I would photocopy a page and then stick it in and then do my background over the top, kind of ghost it into the background. And I just think it's such an effective technique. I mean, I recommend using a glue stick because then it won't warp the paper. And then use a transparent, like not a completely transparent, it needs to have some pigment to it, but blend over your transparent acrylic, your matte acrylics, and blend it into the background, and I think it's a really cool technique. These are another one of the Halloween digi-stamps, the eyes. They're a little gross looking. And this was when I was still doing collage. This is quite a simple layout for me actually, but I really like it. I think it looks effective. This says, "I can see your soul from here." This was blood red, this ink, and then it oxidized and became this light purple. So that's something I learned after a while. Here's a digi-stamp that's in my store called Cherry. She's a pin-up. And this was just created because I have all these little stamps lying around. I'm not a big stamper. So I wanted to use them somehow, but I don't know how. And then I thought, oh, what if they were tattoos? So now I use stamps as decorative elements in tattoos. These were just practice pages. There's a better one of them in my other journal. Yeah, the idea is still the same. You can print Cherry out, and then if you print another one out and cut out a mask, so you cut out her swimsuit and place it over the top, and you cut out her hair and place it over the top, then you can just stamp over that without getting any stamps on that. Practicing with my paint pens, I think getting them to flow nicely. Blow out all your bubbles and sit on the seabed. I used to do this thing when I was a kid, well I still do it now. If I'm in a pool, I'll blow out all of my bubbles and sit on the bottom of the pool. I'm not a great floater. I think I'm too dense to float. So I like to just blow out the air and sit on the bottom of the pool. It's very relaxing. It's a little dangerous. I mean, I don't encourage you to do it, but I've been practicing for years, so I feel like I've perfected my technique. Here's another custom digi-stamp, and this is just my rendering of it. And I think I did a base of Copic marker and then pencil. And then I always use paint pen to pull out the highlights, just because it's easier than leaving that negative space. And this was an old fairy I did. This cardstock I used was like 300 pound, is that what it's called? 300 GSM. Very, very heavy, and it wouldn't feed through my printer, so I ended up having to just use it to draw on. But it reacted weirdly because it's got this coating on it. So the watercolor kept so separated, and I love it. And now I regret not bringing some of it with me because I don't remember where I got it from. The rest of the page though looked hideous, so that's why I just cut her out in a circle. And this quote is true. I'm a grown man and I'm still obsessed with fairies and mermaids. There's no shame in my game. Here's Stella. She's a digi-stamp in the store. Just a really simple layout and a quote. Spray inks. Still a lot of Dylusions products in here. Colored pencil and paint pen. I use a Sakura jelly roll. Oh, Sakura souffle. Yeah, that white pen, it's great. It goes on clear, but then once it dries, it's really opaque. This is another page that's, you know, it's not overly fantastic. Sometimes I just like to stick things in just so that they're not floating around. This was I tried to give my sister a drawing lesson a couple years ago, and this was the face she came up with. And I just thought it was such a great memory of us sitting together and her learning something and us spending quality time together, so I kept it and put it in my book. Anything my family ever does that's creative, I always end up putting it in my book. If in doubt, make it a mermaid. These are Daphne and Delphi. These are in the store, and these are digi-stamps that I absolutely adore. They come really plain, so you can add as much as you want and change them as much as you want. This I used a lot of like a stencil. So I had this circle stencil, and I would use that. And even with these eyelashes, I would draw a faint circle with pencil, and I'd follow the line to get these really nice symmetrical and dramatic wings. And even with these lashes, I used the circle stencil and every lash hit the edge of the circle, so that made them look like they're really fanned out. I don't know why I called her Daphne, but I called her Delphi because I have a Cabbage Patch Kid when I was younger, and I was devastated because when I kind of grew up, I thought, well, I've got to grow out of this now. I can't have dolls anymore because I'm growing up into be a man. And so we got rid of her, and her name was Miss Yuck. She was my most favorite thing ever. And she was just this disgusting Cabbage Patch that had this like frizzy orange hair, and she had a ponytail that if you pulled it, it got really, really long. And so when Miss Yuck got sold, I was devastated. So we had to go and get a new Cabbage Patch, and I got Delphi. So that's how she became Delphi. She doesn't look like a Cabbage Patch, I love that name. Here's another fun page. I had to close the book to show you because it's effective when I open it. It's another one of the teacup pages with Alice. This one's all black and white and Alice is in color. But yeah, this was just doodles. So if you've got the teacup, I know a lot of people have started purchasing this teacup, and you want to just test it out, because this was just a test I did with actual just copy paper. So I didn't do a great job gluing it, but it still works with copy paper. I recommend cardstock, but copy paper works. And yeah, so this was just doodling black and white. There's the Cheshire Cat, the White Rabbit, Doorknob, the Caterpillar, who are you? Flowers, drink me. This page came together really simply. You just needed a pen, a glue stick, and scissors, so. Here are 2 more digi stamps I did over Halloween last year, Trick and Treat. These have a lot of elements added to them, so I think I started in Copic marker and then added a lot of pencil and then paint pens. And this background I did, I was inspired by a lot of these backgrounds I saw on Instagram where they kind of just look like, you know what I'm talking about? All of these, like the lines and then the dots and then there's bits and crosses, and yeah, so I wanted to make a Halloween version of it. That's the end of the book. I still have this page to go, I guess. There's my Small Dylusions journal, and you've just flipped through the whole entire thing. I did miss a couple of pages only because they're so confusing to try and explain, and some of them would maybe reveal too much about my personality that I'm not willing to reveal yet, or maybe ever. Well, that's a whole journal, and this, I guess, I worked on this for about a year while I was working on other journals, but this was the first one I got for the specific purpose of art journaling. So I hope you got a good feel for how I started, and practice is key if you want to move forward in anything, and that, you know, some of these things are really, really simple, and some of these, you know, I wouldn't create now, but that was how I learned. That's how I had to start. The more you practice, the more you develop a style of your own, and you learn what you like and what you don't like, and the stuff that you like to do and the stuff you like to look at. So yeah, I encourage you all just to keep on keeping on. And I look forward to making another journal flip for you soon. Bye!